Hey, welcome back to another CR Live session with me, Dan Bongino, host of the Renegade Republican podcast. Thanks again to everybody who listens and subscribes to the show. I really appreciate it. I'll put the links to the show in the comments section as I do after the end of every session here. So I read a piece in the Daily News, the New York Daily News, which is a pretty far left paper that really blew my mind, that you really should read. You need to hear about it. The title of the piece is called, "Are the Democrats Getting Played?" And it's written by a guy who is left-leaning. Gecan is his last name. Gecan, or I'm Gecan. I don't really know how to say his last name. Gecan. I don't know the guy. So I don't know how he wants his last name said. But it's a fascinating piece because I think he's onto something. Keep in mind, this guy is not a conservative, folks. I think the Democrats are about to get wiped out again electorally in 2018. The point of the piece, and the premise of this guy's piece, is that the Democratic Party has lost its allegiance to the working man, the average middle-class American, what we would call, what they would call flyover country, what we would call America. People who go to work for a living, the carpenters, the farmers, the architects, the pilots, the plumbers, the electricians, the people who get dirt under their fingernails for a living. Those people are leaving and have left the Democratic Party in droves. The issues they've taken on have become far detached from issues that these people care about every day. Transgender bathroom issues, an obsession with knocking down Christianity and, putting, in some cases, Christians in jail, like we saw with the Kentucky court clerk, Kim Davis. These kinds of issues with the Democrats and an obsession with tax hikes have alienated middle America. The point this Gecan guy or Gecan guy makes in the New York Daily News, I keep pointing over there because my computer's over there and I covered this topic on my podcast, is that Democrats have become, they've fallen in love with the celebrities. They've fallen in love with academia. They've fallen in love with the talking heads on TV and the media. And they think this is the real world. They have this bizarre idea that this is actually America. Folks, but you have to understand, you can almost understand where they're coming from, right? These are coastal elites. Hollywood, the tech industry, the financial markets, which shockingly are largely liberal when you look at a lot of the people who do business in New York and in these coastal cities. They don't get out of that bubble. They're surrounded by like-minded people all the time. They never hear an alternative opinion. They have no reason to engage you. They think everybody cares about men being allowed into the women's bathroom. They think this is like a hot-button issue in America. What they don't understand, and what the Republican Party's been able to do, and what Trump was able to do, and what a lot of governors in blue states, Republican governors in blue states were able to do, is they were able to talk kitchen table issues. Kitchen table issues that left the Democratic Party a long time ago. The Democrats abandoned these issues eons ago. They're not fighting for the working man anymore. So the point he's making in the New York Daily News piece about how Democrats are getting played is that they're not doing the hard work. They're doing the celebrity rallies, the Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen concerts. They're in academia writing op-eds, but they're largely writing these print pieces and they're talking to themselves. They're not talking to anybody else. They're not doing the hard work of going to the local town hall meetings, going to, the local farmers bureau and talking to farmers on their terms, not your terms. Talking to union men and women who maybe unionization isn't the biggest issue for them, but their wallets are. They're not talking to these people. All they're talking to are the Hollywood techies, the tech community out there, the financial market people in the coastal communities, and the academics. That's it. That's a sliver of America. That's why they win in these big states like New York and California and Illinois, and they get wiped out pretty much everywhere else. They don't get it. Let me just be clear on this too. I'm not giving them advice. And some of you will comment on this, I'm sure. I get these comments a lot like, hey, stop telling them what to do. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm giving Republicans this information because sooner or later the Democrats are going to wake up and figure this out. If there's one thing political parties crave more than anything, it's power. They're not going to settle on being out of power long. They're going to figure this out. What I don't want is the Republican Party to do what the Democrats did and replicate this strategy and become complacent. And all of a sudden, Republicans aren't showing up at that local farm bureau meeting or even the local HOA meeting or whatever it may be. I don't want us to replicate this pathetic Democrat strategy of talking only to Hollywood people and people who live on the coast. That's why I'm giving you this warning. They will find a way to try to get back in power. I want to relate this story also to a thing I've mentioned on a couple of these CR Live sessions before. When I say a thing, I mean a piece by, I'm pretty sure it was Jonah Goldberg who wrote it at National Review. And he was talking about how you can make cultural shifts in society relatively quickly if you can get that middle portion of America to buy in. But to do that, you have to talk to them. And he was talking about the battle against smoking, how smoking, 50, 60 years ago, almost everybody smoked, or somebody knew someone who smoked. Now it's pretty rare. I mean, I drive down my neighborhood. It's rare to see anybody walking down the street smoking a cigarette. You know what? 50 years ago, it was rare to see someone not smoking a cigarette. And he says, the reason that battle was successful was because precisely that. Everyone knew someone who smoked, so they knew how to talk to them. They knew how to talk them out of it. They knew what would bake their bagels, right? They knew those points they could hit on that would get to those people. The Democrats have made no effort whatsoever to address these issues, though, with people on matters that count, like guns. The Democrats are convinced that they should take your guns no matter what. The fact that you happen to live in a non-urban area in the middle of the country somewhere and can use that gun for self-defense doesn't matter to Democrats. They want a federal policy to take away your guns. They don't care. They've made no effort to reach out to the gun owner like people did in the past to reach out to the smoker and talk them out of it. That's the problem with living in these coastal enclaves and never, ever reaching out to middle America. Folks, I really think they are in for catastrophic losses. I don't see any evidence they're not going to get smoked. I mean, think about it, right? Another point this guy makes in the piece, in the Daily News piece, and I'll wrap it up on this, is that all of this stuff is all AstroTurf nonsense with the left, right? It's all AstroTurf. They love the big rallies, the women's marches, the famous celebrity statements, the videos, the concerts. They don't want to do any of the hard work. And he provides evidence that this is true. I mean, look at what happened in Wisconsin. All of these rallies against Scott Walker with the union rules. People screaming and yelling, camping out. People leaving the state, the senators leaving the state. In fact, they lost. Scott Walker won re-election, won a recall election, and Wisconsin just went red for Trump. Folks, listen, almost nothing they do works because they're not interested in doing the hard work. They don't want to actually talk to people, and that's going to blow up in their faces. Hey, thanks again for tuning in. Again, I'm Dan Bongino, host of the Renegade Republican podcast. I really appreciate it. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to our new CRTV network yet, I really appreciate it if you give it a look. It's available at crtv.com. We got Mark Levin's show on there, Michelle Malkin's show, Steven Crowder, Mark Stein's show, and we got a lot of surprises ahead. So I was just watching a UFC preview tonight, by the way, for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Almost for the cost of one UFC, you get a whole year worth of CRTV content. It's worth it, believe me. Levin TV alone is worth the price of admission. I'll talk to you all tomorrow, folks.